Hey there, friends on YouTube. My name is Roger with Electronics and Gadgets. If this is your first time here, thanks for stopping by. Hit the like and subscribe, please. If you've been here before, thank you. My next video is going to be on the fact that your iPhone's display can get brighter than you think. When you want to brighten up your iPhone screen, you likely use Control Center's brightness slider to increase your nits, which we'll go over shortly, especially if you've disabled auto brightness. But once you max it out, it doesn't seem like the display can get any brighter. However, depending on your iPhone model, your display may be capable of getting a lot brighter based on how you use it. Unbeknownst to much of the iOS public, many iPhones actually have two different maximum brightness levels and depend on what's being displayed on the device. The first number is referred to as typical, since it's the maximum brightness you reach during typical use. Think about the times you max out that slider while sharing a friend's story on Instagram or chatting with your contacts on group FaceTime. The second level is achievable thanks to something you may or may not be familiar with, HDR. HDR, or high dynamic range, allows your iPhone to brighten the light areas of an image more than usual, creating a dynamic contrast between the display's light and dark areas. Apple says, and quote, HDR delivers a broad range of dark and light areas in photos and video. This allows you to see true dark blacks and pure bright whites while retaining dynamic nuances in between. Photos look more vivid, and everything you watch in Dolby Vision, HDR10 or HLG is more stunning than ever. For example, think about a scene where you can clearly see the inside of a dark room alongside a bright open window. A typical display might have that window a bit muted compared to an HDR display, which can blast the brightness while preserving the quality of the overall image. There are a lot of use cases for HDR. For instance, movies you rent or buy through iTunes make advantage of the HDR display on your iPhone and give you a dynamic viewing experience, as do videos you shoot on your iPhone using HDR or Dolby HDR. Even photos shot with HDR, which many cameras support, can do better enjoyed on the brighter display setting. Okay, so what's all this mean? Here's the main point. When viewing this HDR content, the light areas of your iPhone's display actually get brighter than normally possible. An iPhone 12, which normally has a maximum brightness of 625 nits, which is a candela per square meter, can also double that brightness to 1200 nits when playing back HDR content. That's a whole lot brighter than the Control Center slider would imply. The bad news to some people, this feature is only available on specific iPhone models. You won't find it on any devices with an IPS display like the iPhone 11 or iPhone 8 Plus, but hold on with me here. You also won't see it on all OLED displays, sorry iPhone X and iPhone XS users. Apple first implemented this feature with the introduction of the Super Retina XDR displays of the iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max, and has since added it to all models with Super Retina displays. I'm going to put a list on the screen, so check out the list of the compatible phones below, as well as their typical and HDR brightness levels. For me, I have the 11 Pro Max, which is 800 nits typically, but maxes out to 1200 nits in HDR. Same as the iPhone 12 Pro Max, iPhone 12, and the iPhone 12 mini goes lower, but you can see they all max, if it's HDR display, they all max at 1200 nits. Remember, the typical number is the maximum luminosity level that your iPhone can reach during normal use. The iPhone 12 and 12 mini have lower typical maximum brightnesses than the Pro series, but all supported iPhone models in the list have the same maximum brightness of 1200 nits. Any of these iPhones listed in the list can take advantage of the variable display brightness when playing back HDR content. You always should check the control center brightness slider to make sure it's all the way up for HDR content, because it's likely not be when viewing or playing HDR media on the screen, especially if you use auto brightness. I've found if you set auto brightness on, it doesn't go as bright as if you turn auto brightness off and max the brightness all the way up manually. There's actually a bit of a difference in the brightness levels. So having said all this, your iPhone display may not stay this bright for its entire lifespan. As stated by Apple in its OLED explainer, display technology is affected by use in time and might lose peak brightness over its life. While your brand new iPhone 11 Pro might have been able to reach 800 nits during typical use and 1200 when playing HDR content, it might not appear as bright a few years later. That's why Apple recommends you keep auto brightness enabled so that the iOS system can keep the display at optimal brightness levels for your environment at all times. If you're using your iPhone outside all the time, the lower brightness setting should, in theory, keep your display's maximum brightness at higher levels for longer. Still, many of us choose to disable auto brightness since we prefer to set our own luminosity levels, including myself, that won't change whenever they want. Peak brightness loss isn't a common complaint among iPhone users, so it really comes down to personal choice. So what's a nit? Let's basically go over that real quick. Imagine you have a candle inside of a box or a cube with a total surface area measuring 1 meter by 1 meter, or about the size of a bath towel or 20 iPads that have somehow made it into the cube. The total amount of light coming out of that candle and its source is about 1 candela. All the light hitting the walls of the cube equal 1 nit, which is technically defined as 1 candela per square meter. Each additional candle you add to the cube will add another candle of luminosity and therefore another nit. Since the square meter now has more light in it, if you manage to get 4 candles / nits into the cube before it burst into flames, the light per square meter would be 400 nits. So that's where nits come in. Okay, so that's my video on HDR displays, how to get your phone brighter. I hope you found my videos to be helpful. Thank you for being here. Please click like and subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment down below. And until next time, I'm out.